This is Satoshi Nakamoto. On April 26, 2011, Satoshi Nakamoto sent his final emails to the developers helping him to create the Bitcoin network, which he made clear he had moved on to other projects, at the same time of handing over a cryptographic key he had used to send network-wide alerts. Bitcoin is currently the main topic discussed in mainstream media. Let's say it is now being promoted by citizens, musicians, politicians, human rights advocates, you name it. And yet, Satoshi Nakamoto's identity remains a mystery. That's why today, I'm doing this video, for the first time, with a full deep dive into Satoshi Nakamoto's time as lead developer of the Bitcoin project. Welcome to our channel. You are watching Kryptonite, a channel where we give you information about investing in the cryptocurrency space. Please, if you enjoy this video, make sure to like this video, so the YouTube algorithm knows you like channels related to crypto. If you are new here, welcome. Subscribe to support our channel and get cryptocurrency information you might be interested in. In today's video, before we announce who is Satoshi Nakamoto, we will provide the basics of Bitcoin and give you all information that makes me get to this conclusion. Now without further ado, let's get started. Number 1. Satoshi made Bitcoin as an alternative to central banking. There have been a number of attempts over the years to entitle Satoshi as someone who was only interested in disrupting banking or payments, most evoking their own interpretation of the news article in the first block of the Bitcoin blockchain. But even looking beyond what was directly in the code, some of Satoshi's first public messages were directly about issues with currency issuance. As he wrote on the P2P Foundation forum in February 2009, the root problem with conventional currency is all the trust that's required to make it work. The central bank must be trusted not to debase the currency, but the history of fiat currencies is full of breaches of that trust. Banks must be trusted to hold our money and transfer it electronically, but they lend it out in waves of credit bubbles with barely a fraction in reserve. Satoshi frequently mentioned central banking and money printing as issues of concern in the creation of his project. Here's another of his earliest replies to Sepp's question. Indeed, there is nobody to act as central bank or Federal Reserve to adjust the money supply as the population of users grows. Number 2. After Satoshi left Bitcoin, he was active behind the scenes. Prior to this new research, it was known Satoshi's final message on the Bitcoin forums came in December 2010 and that he sent a final message to developers on April 26, 2011. What happened in between was less clear. Thanks to new emails provided by Gavin Andresen, a developer who collaborated directly with Satoshi and took over the project in his absence, this picture is now more developed. Indeed, there was some back and forth between Satoshi and other developers, most notably on how to handle the publicity the project was then receiving, among other technical issues. I don't think this piece gets us any closer to understanding why Satoshi disappeared exactly when he did, but my conclusion from the research is that Bitcoin had already outgrown the need for a single leader by the time of his departure. Number 3. Satoshi knew Bitcoin was a scientific breakthrough. I'm not sure exactly why I found this fact so odd, but I do. I'm talking here about a subpage on the original Bitcoin.org website, in which Satoshi claims that Bitcoin solved the Byzantine generals problem, for which he has since been widely credited. It's somewhat staggering to think that not only was Satoshi able to invent something genuinely new, but that he was able to contextualize the achievement so specifically. It proves he was well versed in the history of computer science and was able to define exactly what he had achieved, even if it would take the world some time to catch up. Number 4. Satoshi was really scared for Bitcoin to get compromised. I had known that the Bitcoin blockchain was exploited in 2010 and that this bug resulted in the creation of billions of Bitcoins that violated the software's monetary policy. I never expected to find that Satoshi was influenced heavily by this. Far from brushing off the incident as a one-off issue, it seems to have radically reoriented his actions and leadership. He became less collaborative with other developers, was more prone to making unannounced additions and updates to the software, and seemed overall to enter a few-month phase where he was obsessed with making the software more secure. I read the later part of 2010 as Satoshi waking up to the fact that Bitcoin was susceptible to attack, and the remainder of his work as his attempt to stop a fatal exploit at all costs. Number 5. Satoshi led Bitcoin as a kind dictator. Today, Bitcoin development is a highly collaborative process between hundreds of developers around the globe. When Satoshi ran the project, it was him and a few others doing most, if not all of the work. Again, not that this is exactly surprising. Early on, there weren't really many coders of Satoshi's caliber. They would come later and largely be encouraged by Gavin Andresen to join what became a more open, collaborative project under his leadership. That said, I still think it's interesting that Satoshi ran Bitcoin as a kind dictator in that he mainly often wrote official code that was tested by others. This is well in line with established practices in open source, and it's believable Satoshi wouldn't have realized he needed to invent a new model for Bitcoin's management in order for it to be decentralized. This is why I think it's best to consider the Bitcoin Satoshi created as only partly built, and its completion, technically and philosophically, was the result of other, later contributors. Number 6. Bitcoin users became critical of Satoshi before the end. Perhaps my biggest surprise about the research was finding a trove of real-time conversations between Bitcoin users about Satoshi Nakamoto and seeing firsthand how user attitudes changed toward him over time. From what I can tell, these attitudes largely progressed through 3 phases. There was a honeymoon period in early 2010 when most users were discovering the software, an awakening when he began to more actively assert his authority over the code. Finally, the last period of late 2010 saw users disassociating from Satoshi entirely. Some made jokes about his gender and sexuality, sometimes graphically, and they talked quite freely and openly about the frustrations he caused due to a general lack of availability and inability to meet their many demands. Number 7. Satoshi removed his name from the Bitcoin software before leaving. Finally, a last interesting find was that Satoshi did formally quit Bitcoin, removing his name from the copyright claim in the software and leaving the code to all Bitcoin developers. This is consistent with our understanding of Satoshi as someone whose painstaking dedication and mastery of personal operation security has allowed him to remain a mystery today. It's a final piece that removes any doubt about whether he intended to leave, even if the motivations behind the move still remain a mystery. Number 8. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto? Now here's my take. I think Bitcoin creator can be only one person, and that person is David Schwartz, the current CTO of Ripple. All the traits from Satoshi's emails and messages describe him as a British man, kind, and knowledgeable. In my opinion, I think Satoshi left Bitcoin because, at that time, he wanted to make changes in the Bitcoin ecosystem to solve the trilemma of crypto, which are scalability, privacy, and decentralization. And in order to improve it, the network had to come to a consensus. Once Satoshi saw that the network was immutable and hard to upgrade, he moved on in 2011. As he mentioned, to work on other projects. This frustrated David Schwartz, so he then went to try and solve all the problems he had encountered with Bitcoin, by developing XRP and its ecosystem in 2012. This is my take why I think David Schwartz is Satoshi, but is he? Let us know your opinion on the comment sections down below. This is it for today. I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to tap the like button. Thank you guys for watching. See you till next time.